rising COVID-19 cases worldwide, it's being reported residents in Mexico still don't believe the virus exists. CNN's Matt Rivers with a closer look.
Humberto Montes Cruz sings at funerals for a living, so you might think he would take this virus seriously, but he doesn't. He says the truth is this virus doesn't exist. I don't know if I'm ignorant or if it's the faith I have in God, but to me, it doesn't exist. He says if it existed, he'd have gotten it by now. And living and working in Mexico throughout this outbreak, I've consistently heard people like Humberto say that this virus doesn't exist, and so have others. In May, a funeral home director told us people constantly tell him relatives died, quote, of the flu, not COVID. In June, paramedics told us they encounter skeptics on nearly every call. And just a few weeks ago, a crematorium worker told us he's amazed how many people tell him the virus isn't real. So the question is, why? Mexican sociologist Jorge Galindo says that's a tough one to answer, but he started with a fundamental lack of faith in institutions.
There's a mistrust in general because the government is always kind of lying or trying to control the narrative.
So when officials say take the virus seriously, some do the opposite. He also points to some officials, like the Mexican president, downplaying the virus early on, low education levels, and a lack of understanding about where this all comes from.
You want to believe that there's something intentional about this, but this happened just because a virus suddenly happened. And that is something difficult to believe.
In Mexico City's crowded Central District, we quickly found Jorge, who says he doesn't really believe in the virus. I've seen so many things in the media that don't exist, he says. I don't know anyone who's got it. But he's in a growing minority, as swiftly rising cases and deaths means the threat is getting harder to ignore. Martha says, I didn't believe in the virus at first, but with everything happening, now I have to say it exists. And Abigail says, I didn't believe it was true, but now I have family in the hospital, there's more cases, so I'm scared. A recent newspaper poll found 86% of Mexicans do believe the virus exists. Only 14% either don't believe it exists or aren't sure, and that seems like a small number, until you consider that 14% of Mexico's population is about 18 million people. Are those 18 million socially distancing, washing their hands, staying at home? We don't know. But if they're not, it doesn't bode well for a country already with one of the worst outbreaks in the world. Matt Rivers, CNN, Mexico City.